woman who is fed up with a man who don't ever take charge and always waits for you to tell him what to do? Are you frustrated with a man who avoids making decisions? You are not the only one. Elliott Katz has heard this complaint from many women. In his new book, How to Get Your Man to Wear the Pants So You Don't Have to, inspiring him to make more decisions, take the lead, and stop leaving it all to you, he shares strategies on how a woman can inspire a man to stop leaving this entire burden on her. So, in today's episode, let us chat with Elliott Katz on this interesting topic. This is the Guiding Voice podcast series, the Guiding Voice for a Better Future. Folks, I'm your host Navin Samala, just a fellow IT professional on a mission to shape the careers and lives of millions across the globe. Through the Guiding Voice, we help successful leaders share their knowledge and wisdom with the world so that our audience will acquire more knowledge per every minute by tuning into the Guiding Voice than any other podcast in this space. Thank you so much for joining me, and we are extremely pleased to have Elliott part of TGV's journey in shaping the careers and lives of millions across the globe. Elliott, hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice, and I'm super excited to have you here.
Okay, great to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get started. So, Elliott, maybe you can briefly share your career journey and the top 3 things that have helped you so far.
Well, I've done a lot of writing. Before I started writing these books, I was a speechwriter for politicians. I did that for many years, wrote for a lot of speechwriters, a lot of politicians. And then I was married, and then I got divorced. And like a lot of men at first, a lot of people, at first I blamed the other person. Then I came to the point of asking myself, what do I have to learn from all this? I don't want to go through this again. And to me, that was really a pivotal point because, when you just blame the other person, you're not growing and you're very likely just to end up in the same situation again. And people often say that, the first time you blame the other person, the second time it's like, well, what do we have in common here? I'm in common. So that really set me off on a journey to learn, well, there must be some wisdom that I can learn from all this. And that led to me writing this book. Actually, the interesting thing is I actually wrote a book before this one for men called Being the Strong Man a Woman Wants, Timeless Wisdom on Being a Man. And in that book, it coaches men to take leadership, to make decisions, to take responsibility. Too often, men just avoid making decisions and then blame their wives when things go wrong. And women don't appreciate that. They're very frustrated with men like that because they want men to take responsibility. And a lot of women contacted me and said, well, how do I get my man to take charge more at home? How do I get him to wear the pants and not leave every decision to me? A lot of men think if I just do whatever the woman wants, that she should be happy, but she's not. And they don't understand why the woman's frustrated with him. But the woman, when she always has to tell a man what to do, it makes her feel like he's a child and she is his mother, and she doesn't want to be his mother. And really, the fascinating thing for me on this journey is, I thought, this is just maybe me and my friends, maybe just people in Canada, maybe just kind of in the United States, but it's all over the world because the first book was translated to 24 languages around the world. And it was also published in India by a publisher in India. So it's really a kind of thing that men have to learn. It just doesn't come naturally to a lot of men.
Let's talk about the first book in a while, and before that, let's jump into this topic. And you can probably cover why men are refusing to take lead of day-to-day responsibilities at home.
Well, that's a great question. Well, because a lot of reasons. One is they weren't really taught. This generation of men, they watch television. Men are portrayed as buffoons. They didn't really have fathers who weren't role models, so that a man has to take charge and show leadership, not be controlling, not be domineering, not be toxic, none of those things. But a man who just comes home and asks his wife, well, what should I do? Just tell me what to do, I'll do it. And he thinks he's a great guy. He washes the dishes, he changes diapers, he does all these things. They never were taught. And I tell you, so many men that I coach will say to me, no one's ever told me this before. Why didn't someone tell me this? I teach men who are divorced. I said, they say to me, if someone would have told them this, taught them this while they were still married, they probably wouldn't be divorced today. People just don't. They weren't taught it. And so I tell women, in this second book, you could teach your man how to wear the pants and be the kind of man you want. But it's just like, that years ago in North America, there was a show called Father Knows Best. It was in the 1950s. And people think this is this old fashioned show. But in that show, the father came home and he became aware of what was going on in his home. He saw problems and he stepped forward. He says, there's a problem. Here's how we can solve it. He didn't come home and say to his wife, what do you want me to do? Tell me what to do. I'll do it. Whatever you want. I tell men, never say whatever you want. Because that's what, a woman will say, what should we do? And the man will say, whatever you want, you decide. Don't ever say that. She'll get very frustrated with you.
Quite interesting. Now let's talk about the women part. What are women doing wrong, which is encouraging this attitude of men?
Well, it's not really, they're not doing it wrong. They're just not doing the right thing. I don't like to say they're doing it wrong because, men and women speak different languages. So a woman will say, you're not doing enough at home. And we'll think, what are you talking about? I come home, I do this, I do that, I do all these things. I'm going nonstop until I collapse from exhaustion. And he can't understand. Like, he thinks she's just being overly dramatic. A woman really has to say, instead of saying, you're not doing enough, say, I appreciate all that you do. You help with the kids, you help with the laundry, the dishes, the grocery shopping. I appreciate all that you do, but I need you to be more involved in the thinking and planning and what they call, some people call it emotional labor, like thinking, how are we going to solve these problems? What are the day-to-day responsibilities here and the problems that we face? How do we deal with them? Like, you see a problem with your son or your daughter, like, don't just say, what should we do? Say, I did some research and I think this is the solution to this problem. I think this is what we can do. If you do this, I'll do this, and I think we can solve this problem. They really want you to, like, use your thinking. And the irony is, a lot of men, they're leaders at work. They are always solving problems. They see a situation. They take initiative. They say, I think this is what we need to do. But when they come home, they're just become passive and they say, okay, just tell me what to do. I'll do it. So it's really, for men, it's really not that hard because in the workplace, most men do show initiative. Just apply that at home. Don't think your wife knows better. You both know a lot. You both should trust your own judgment. Just step forward and do it. So a woman should say, if a man says, if she asks him, what should we do? And he says, oh, whatever you want, you decide. Say, what I want is to know what you want. I want you to step forward with some ideas. I like a man who says, I'll handle it. And he steps forward and handles it. And doesn't just say, just tell me what to do. I'll do it. Even a lot of men, when their marriages are in trouble, and, I meet men like this and I coach them, and it's sad. And the men will say, if my wife would just tell me what she wants, I'll do it. I want to keep my family together. I say, that's not what she wants. She doesn't want someone who says, tell me what you want. She wants you to step forward like a man and be a leader. And it's so amazing that there's so many women who say, I divorced my husband because he acted like a 5-year-old. He always asked me to tell him what to do. I want a husband and a man who could take charge. And even, women who will, let's say they own a business or they're a doctor or a lawyer with their own practice. They'll say, well, I may be a boss at work, but when I'm with a man, I want to feel like a woman. I want him to take charge. So you got to say those words. Don't just say you're not doing enough or I'm fed up with you. Just say, I want you to take charge. I want you to take the lead. I don't want to have to make all the decisions. You don't have to. I don't have to let you. Like some men will say, well, what if my wife doesn't let me lead? You don't need my permission to lead. Just step forward and lead. If I disagree with you, I'll tell you. But I like it when you lead. And women will say, and I've had women say it to me, and the men I coach will say, women will have said it to them. When a man leads, it makes them feel safe and protected. Really, those words, safe and protected. That's what she wants. And when a man who just like, oh, whatever you want, she doesn't want him to say, oh, you handle it. No, you be the man, step forward and take charge.
Mhm. Quite interesting. And you said your books are translated into 24 languages and all, which means you might have had a good reader base and all. And please share about good strategies that your readers might have shared with you on dealing with men or women.
Well, the main thing is really, like, step forward. Like, don't, like, to realize you're in a situation, it's not working. Like, examine what you're doing. Like I was saying at first, we blame the other person. It's all the other person's fault. I know so many people, they get divorced, and I say, well, Did you ever think about what you need to do differently that would, change your spouse? And they just say, no, I married the wrong person. Well, marriage is growth, and it's all learning. And if every couple who had problems got divorced, there would be 100% divorce rate, because marriage is challenge and is overcoming challenges. A lot of challenges. So I tell people, look at yourself, look what you're doing, ask yourself what you have to do differently. So like for women, it's like realize, what I tell women, realize he's not doing it to frustrate you. Like women, he gets very frustrated. They say he doesn't act like a man. He acts like a child. I said, you know what? He thinks he's being a non-controlling good guy. He doesn't realize he's frustrating you. He actually thinks he's doing the right thing. I mean, I get this so often. I shouldn't laugh because I thought the same thing years ago. So just realize he's not doing it to frustrate you. He really doesn't know that you want him to step forward. Men, there's all this talk about toxic masculinity and being controlling. Men don't want to be that. So they think, I'll play it safe. I'll let her decide everything. But I tell them, ask them. I'd like you to say, I'll handle it. And even like give them ideas on let's say a common situation. Let's say a couple gets married, they have a child, the husband's parents, the wife feels the husband's parents are like, or the mother, especially the mother-in-law, is meddling too much. He's mixing in too much, telling her what to do. And then there's the husband in the middle. He's got his wife on one side and his mother on the other side. And I said, look, women get very frustrated with both of them. The mother and daughter-in-law get frustrated because he's not handling it. So I say, you got to talk to him in a way to encourage him to handle it. To say, maybe if they have suggestions, maybe they should give it to you. And then if you think they're good suggestions, we'll discuss it. Just you're the man in the middle. Don't back away. The problem goes away by itself. Just step forward.
Excellent. So, Elliot, now can you share your wisdom for men who wants to have a successful relationship?
Well, the three most important things: show your share of leadership. It's not about being domineering and controlling. It's step forward when there's problems. Step forward. Don't just wait for your wife to tell you what to do. It's very frustrating, and she will love you. She wants a man who's strong and can step forward, and it makes her feel safe and protected. It's an amazing thing. Like I experienced in my own life, and the men that I've coached, like I said, they'll say the women love it. They don't want to always have to be told, tell you what to do. Make decisions. So often. So often, even the guys I coach, we laugh about this. So many times a woman will say, what do you want for supper, chicken or fish? And the man says, it really doesn't matter. Why does she let her? Why do I have to make the decision? The decision really doesn't matter to me. And so I say, yeah, well, good. So then you can make it because she wants you to make the decision. It makes her feel that you care. And so if you make a decision, so whatever she asks you, like, what color do you want to paint this room? Don't say whatever color is fine with me. Make a decision. She likes it. And the other thing is take responsibility. That's a very big one. Like, don't think, well, I didn't make the decision. She made it. So if it goes wrong, I could blame her because I didn't make the decision. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. And one of the I tell people, the book's not religious, and I'm not pushing religion, but in the story of Adam and Eve, there's so much wisdom. Adam, there's one commandment: don't eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Eve eats it, then she pushes Adam to eat it. At first he says no, and then he gives in. And then God says to Adam, did you eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge that I commanded you not to eat? I'm not pushing religion here, but the story is so powerful to me. What does he do? Does he say, yeah, I'm responsible for what I didn't know? He says, the woman you sent me gave it to me, and I ate it. When I read that, I couldn't believe it. I said, he gave in to something he knew was wrong, and then he blamed his wife. Well, a lot of men today do that, and I tell you, I did it too. A lot of men I know said, yeah, I gave into this. My wife wanted these expensive renovations. We really couldn't afford it, but I gave in. And then, when we went through a very difficult time financially, I blamed her. Well, it didn't help you, did it? and that couple that I just told you about, they ended up getting divorced, and the people who bought their house, that take responsibility. Don't think, I'll just let her do it her way, and then I'll blame her when it goes wrong. Very, very important. Don't, she wants to feel you're protecting her, and when you blame her, you're not.
So we have to make sure that women feel they are safe and protected. That's a powerful tip. And Elliot, now can you share about your first book? Very briefly, talk about being the strong man a woman wants. Timeless wisdom on being a man.
Right. So that's this book right here. So, and like I said, that was the book. Like the main 3 points about that is, like I said, show leadership, make decisions, take responsibility. The book is in the form of a story of a grandfather teaching this wisdom to his grandson because his father didn't teach it. The wisdom missed a generation, and that's so true today. The whole world, not the whole world, but so much of the world, men haven't been taught this wisdom about being a leader. When I learned it, it was like, wow, I didn't know that. You mean I'm supposed to be a leader? I realized I wasn't a leader, and I didn't have a clue how to be a leader. I had to learn. So that's really, and how do men learn it? Traditionally, they learned it from their fathers, their grandfathers. They were role models. They watched how their fathers did things. But today, many fathers, well, a lot of young men are raised in families where they don't have a father. They're divorced. The father's not really very present in their lives. And even if they are, like a lot of men have adopted this attitude, okay, yes, dear, I'll just do whatever my wife says and she'll be happy. I don't know why she's not happy. I'm doing everything she wants. It's because he's not being a man. So in the book, it's like it's a young man learning this wisdom from his grandfather because his father didn't know it to teach him.
That makes sense. I think, yeah, it is something much needed in the society, especially in this kind of society where many young women are getting separated and all, right? Yeah, definitely. I think that is a worth sharing wisdom. And congratulations on the success of your first book, and also all the best on your second book as well, Elliot. All right, so moving on to the rapid fire round, I would like to quickly open a rapid fire round with your consent just to lighten up the mood of
Okay.
our audience. All right, so
Okay.
let me fire the first bullet. What is one bold thing that you have done so far in your life?
Well, I tell you, we were just talking about that first book, Being the Strong Man and Woman Wants. For me, that was really like I'm thinking like, who am I to put together this book? I gathered together all this wisdom. Like that's what it is. It's wisdom from different sources written over a few hundreds of years. I think, people would say, well, who are you? You're divorced. Why are you writing a book on how a man should be? And I said, well, you know what? This book is all the lessons I learned that I should have known. And I felt kind of like I was taking a risk, but interestingly, the response was positive.
Excellent. All right, so moving on to the next one. What is your favorite word in other language?
In another language, so I'm from Canada. We also speak French here, and my favorite word is bienvenue because in Canada, bienvenue means welcome, like hello, but it also means you're welcome, like thank you, you're welcome. So I thought
Ah,
that's kind of interesting. It's an interesting word.
oh, good one. All right, so can you share one life-changing incident that changed your perspective?
Well, I think, like I said, when I got divorced, it really was like a kick in the head, and I realized I had to look at myself and change. And I coach a lot of men who are divorced, and it's not easy. It's a very difficult time, especially, these are good guys. I mean, the people, they really wanted to keep their family together. They really try their hardest, and they don't really understand why, when they're following everything they hear about being, sensitive, non-controlling guy, it didn't work. Why she's still fed up with him. So that was really a kick in the head for me.
Sorry to hear that. And let me move on with my next question. Which superhero character do you relate yourself with, Elliot?
Well, obviously, Superman. The Superman transformed himself from a meek, mild-mannered Clark Kent to Superman, who went flying through the air and solved problems. He saw a problem, he stepped forward and he dealt with it. He didn't wait for Lois Lane or anybody to tell him what to do. Superman, definitely.
Quite interesting. Moving on to the last one for the rapid fire. Elliot, what is one electronic gadget or technology that you'd like to see or invent yourself?
Well, I would like to see some kind of like cap that you could put on your head and it would record your dreams, right? Because so many times I have dreams and I think, I got to remember this. This would be a great story to write down. And then I don't remember it in the morning. So that's what I would like. Some kind of thing is you put it on your head like a thinking cap, but a dream cap, and it records what you're dreaming. You gonna vent that first, Naveen?
It's quite interesting and mind blowing actually, right? Because so far I've come across time machines and drones, flying drones kind of thing, or some other technology about sustainability and all. But this is something I'm coming across for the very first time. Super, I really loved it.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah, that was an amazing rapid fire round. With that, let me flip back to the mainstream. And before I let you go, one final question for today's conversation, Elliot. What will be your one piece of advice to those aspiring to make big in their careers?
One advice that I always got, like, don't give up, get up. That's a relative of my uncle used to tell me. And another piece of advice is keep learning. Like, one thing that helped me and it helps you succeed in business and in your relationships is join Toastmasters. Are you a member of Toastmasters? It was one of the best things I've ever did. It teaches you to speak up. It teaches you to show leadership. Leadership in the community, leadership in business, leadership in your family, and to speak up and not just be quiet, thinking, you don't want people will criticize you. That was one of the best things I ever did. So I encourage people to do that.
Absolutely. In fact, I did my Toastmasters competent communicator about 9 years ago. I thoroughly enjoy Toastmasters journey, and in fact, now also, if I get an opportunity to attend a meeting, I try to sneak into it.
Oh,
It
good,
is
good,
really an
good.
amazing platform. Thank
So
you for sharing that. Yeah.
I just want to let you know, people, here are the books. Here is Being the Strong Man a Woman Wants. Here is How to Get Your Man to Wear the Pants. They're both available on Amazon all over the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we are going to publish the link to the books in the show notes. So, audience, just go ahead and visit the show notes, and you'll find the direct links where you can purchase those books and get inspired. And definitely, that is going to improve your relationship. And yeah, that's amazing. So, Elliot, this has been one of the greatest conversations that I've had on the podcast, and I really loved your energy levels and loved all the examples, loved all the insights and all. Thank you so much for being part of the show. Thank you for joining me.
Okay, thank you very much for having me.
All right. So,
Okay.
folks, before we move into the trivia section, here is a small request to you. In case if you haven't subscribed to us, please subscribe from the app where you have tuned in from. Also, if you have loved this conversation and found it useful, request you to share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who can benefit from the guiding voice. Thank you so much in advance. Now, let's hop into the trivia segment of today's episode. So, folks, today we learned a lot about maintaining positive relationships and how to safeguard and protect women, and lot of tips in terms of improving relationship between wife and husband. Let us talk about cuddling, because cuddling is something which releases natural painkillers, and you might have heard about this hormone called oxytocin, right? The so-called love or cuddle hormone, and it is produced during an embrace or cuddle. The hormone appears in the brain, ovaries, and testicles, and is thought to be involved in the bonding process. The research has found that a dose of oxytocin decreases headaches significantly, and for some, it even makes the pain go away completely after 4 hours. And it's definitely worth trying hug and cuddle medicine before jumping to chemicals and pills. And recently I came across an article wherein in the Europe there is a person who is considering himself as chief cuddling officer. He's actually hugging people and charging them on hourly basis. That is the amount which he's charging for the time he's spending. But he has learned a lot of techniques which will actually soothe the person that he hugs. Means the clients whoever approach him, right, they get a lot of relief from stress and all. So likewise, chief cuddling officer has become a new profession, and I'm sure it is going to spread to the rest of the world very soon. So that's all for today. But before I let you go, in case if you have any speaker recommendations or if you would like us to cover some specific topics, please drop me a note on social media platforms or email me at theguidingvoiceforyou@gmail.com. Thank you in advance. Folks, I'm your host Naveen, just a fellow IT professional and a passionate learner on a mission to make a difference in the lives and careers of millions across the globe. Until next time, bye bye.